I want to hear each of your pitches, and then I'll decide if I'll see it or not.
Film school Becky would have loved this.
Here we are, and welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Movie Podcast. This is the first episode since we've announced that we made a movie. And as we promised in that mini episode where we announced it, we will continue to give our opinions of movies, but the disclaimer every time is going to be, we have tremendous respect for everybody involved in this. And we love them. 5 stars for everything. We're still going to talk about what we liked and we didn't like. And we are going to get into an extremely controversial movie in a few minutes, and that is Poor Things. People voted on the Substack, which is great. We hope people keep subscribing to the newsletter, and they voted for us to watch Poor Things, which I went to the theater and saw with Allie and
saw
Lily
most
saw.
of.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get that, and Lily saw.
Hilarious.
And Becky will explain why Becky didn't, but I think it's completely valid. But before we get there, Becky and I, we're going to treat some people with some family stories. Becky and I have some things to report. In the weird things getting mailed department, how do I say this?
How
sometimes
do you say this, Shai?
well, I was a little itchy the other day.
Okay. I have
In
so
my-
many questions.
Hold on.
But one of the main words involved refers to someone being an athlete.
Okay. Oh,
It's another word for athlete, with his jock.
yeah. So I was
Does
a
a
little.
jock refer to athleticism or does it refer to a body part? I'm not
Listen to
sure.
I
You do
was
a lot
itchy.
of sitting.
in my nether regions, and because many years ago,
I mean,
I
girls
had-
get itchy in their nether regions all the time.
well,
so
the point
this
is I'm
old
afraid
news
of it
for us.
because of an incident about 19 years ago where I needed to buy a special cream, and
What were you doing 19 years ago?
no, then I was more active. Anyways,
Active. Okay.
and I
I think they just give you antibiotics.
I ordered
that kind of stuff.
Lochermin, which I thought was like a very nondescript name, like medical name for something. And I ordered it on Amazon, and I'm like, great, it'll come. I'll open the package, I'll hide
But
everything,
you
and
did
then
not know the source of the itch.
no, I mean, I knew where it was on my body, but I just didn't know if it was going to be prolonged or if it was just going to be like,
He was just going to test out, see if he could home remedy it.
No.
before
See
going to the
if I
doctor.
actually needed it, but it's one of those things where, like, if the itch progresses, you don't want to not have a cream.
You don't want to not
I
have
mean,
it on
itchy
hand.
downtown. I don't know what it's like to be a boy, but itchy downtown for,
It's
This is
Biological
such a
lady
gross
part.
conversation between siblings. It needs
Okay,
to stop.
so wait, the
amazing.
point
it's
is this.
amazing.
The
I'm
point
enjoying
is
it.
this.
I hope
This is
Shai's
not
so
okay.
embarrassed.
I go
Imagine if
into my
someone
Amazon-
listens and this is their first episode, and
Oh
we're
my
just
God,
talking about
This is a great
this is-
episode. So
Shai's
I-
itchy penis. Is it the
I-
penis or the balls? I just
Oh,
No.
stop! I don't want to know. Ew,
But
ew,
it's-
ew, ew, ew,
what's-
ew, ew. No,
what
I'm not
actually is
listening. I blocked
itchy?
my ears. I blocked
no,
my ears.
it's just the
Fascinated.
skin in the
Oh,
crotchular area in the
stop.
groin.
I don't want a
It's not-
description.
it's
What is
neither,
wrong
Lily.
with you two? I
Okay,
can't.
it's neither. That's all. Because when a vajay is itchy.
But
it's
you know
like
what?
the
Oh my
whole
God.
thing.
But you know
It's
what? You know
Okay,
what?
hang
I
on.
didn't need to not. I don't. Just stop with the descriptions.
Okay, hold on. So
It's so
I
upsetting.
go into Amazon and I do my like fast click. Now, something that's evolved in my house is my children have started ordering things on Amazon. And
Mhm.
I noticed at some point last week that my
Students have
default
become
settings had
masters.
been set to my older daughter. And where was I? I don't remember now where I was, but my phone starts blowing up. And
You know
my
what?
older
My phone started blowing up too.
well, yeah.
And mine.
and my older child,
And Jose's.
my older child
And Mom's.
received jock itch cream
To her
in
name.
the mail addressed to her, which she's an avid listener of this podcast, which is both awesome, but I see where it sort of kind of bites you in the ass.
Or the
Or the jock.
dog.
Because she listens to the show, she assumed this was part of the epidemic of perverse mail arriving at our family members. And then she embarked, because she couldn't get me on the phone, on a quest of. I love that her immediate thing was, though, she assumed this was Lily and Mom's doing,
Yes.
not my doing.
She texts the entire family.
First, I guess she tried. I think she tried you. She tried me. She tried my husband. She called me like 7 times. It's like 7 missed calls from her. Then I had, Tia Lily, please call me back. It's really important. I need you to explain something to me. And I had gone to bed, but I like to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I forgot. So I went to look at my phone and put on Do Not Disturb, and I see it. I'm like, oh my God, there's an emergency. I'm like half asleep, and I call her back, and she's like, I received a suspicious package, a penis suspicious package, and that's like your territory, Tia Lily. I need to know what to do. And I was like, oh my God, I don't understand what's happening, but call. You got to tell your parents and call the police, maybe. You're a minor. What do you mean? And she was like, well, it's for the nether regions. It's for your, a man's, And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know exactly what she was saying it was. And then she's like, I think it's a cream. And I was like, oh my God, did someone send her lube? What is going on?
God.
And then she just reads me the package, and I was like, oh, you know what? I bet your daddy's itchy, and he accidentally sent that to you. And she's like, but it's okay. I already talked to Boba about it. And she definitely thinks that daddy's, downtown is itchy. And it was a mistake.
Oh my God.
So good. Shai,
Shai, I hope your symptoms have improved.
No, I didn't end up needing it. It's just one of those things where I was like, better have this in preventative measure. And the thing
watch out
is,
for that.
The thing is, though,
cart.
is that she made an analogy. I want to check this analogy to you. She said to me, a 12-year-old receiving jockage cream is like her grandmother receiving a dildo in the mail. Is that like analogous, like that level?
No, I don't think it's
because one's a medical.
And it's also like it's a medical cream, and it says jock itch, but it probably can be used for many.
Like
it just could be used for many.
Like
but yeah,
foot or whatever.
it's like that's what they're marketing it as.
Or I would say, however, I would say the embarrassment that she felt with her dad is on par with the embarrassment I felt with my dad when he received a dildo.
But like really
his
though,
house.
because one is like a medical cream.
No, but
Yeah,
she doesn't. She's 12. She doesn't know the difference. Anyways,
she was so embarrassed.
I have banned her from mailing things with her name on my Amazon. She's getting her own Amazon account. I'll get her own credit card. Well, I don't know, get her own credit card, but like that's it. It's a good
Wow.
way
So the punishment is that she gets more independence.
Yeah, she comes out a real winner here. Hilarious. Okay.
Maybe if I mail Lily some jockage cream, she'll get her own Amazon account finally too.
Nope, nothing will stop me. I will not be stopped ordering things out of people's houses.
The wacky children situation.
Yes.
Becky, I feel like your youngest had an adventure and then told you the important lesson that
so we're driving to the movies. We're about 4 minutes from the theater, and all of a sudden in the backseat I hear, uh-oh, which is not a good sign. I go, Sonny, what happened? She goes, I was playing with something and then it was gone. Well, where did it go? Up my nose. What do you mean up your nose? She goes, the gem is up my nose. I can't get it out now.
Now, by the way, when you said gem originally, I know your kids have like this box of large
like those
marble-sized gems,
yeah,
and I was imagining that was in her nose.
No, it's actually
what size are we?
Like tiny. It's like the size of my pinky fingernail, and it's one of those little adhesive, decorative, like fake plastic gems that you would use if you were bedazzling something or doing arts and crafts.
That feels big though. Your fingernail?
Maybe like half the size of my pinky.
Okay.
It's small. My pinky nail. It's fairly small. But like but so was her nose and her nasal cavity. So it's like it's like big for the size of her nose.
What prompted her to put it up there?
Listen, she's
we don't know.
4. We don't know. What happened was she had been sticking it to the outside of her nose for like the last couple of days, thinking it was very cute that she was pretending that she had like a little gem on her nose or a little piercing or something. It was like right on the tip of her nose. And then, she was experimenting and all of a sudden she disappeared up her nose. So we go to urgent care. They can't get it out. We go to the ER. We're there for like 4 hours while they're trying to get it out.
Becky texts like, how's it going at the ER? And Becky's like, well, the guy that's missing a finger and waiting for it to be reattached hasn't been taken back yet. So I think it's going to be a while. Like,
so technically,
time at the ER by the poor guy who's missing part of a finger.
He was, or the guy sitting behind us was actually like full on missing. His finger had been severed, and he was like literally just like bleeding. He's like holding his hand, and like all this gauze filled with blood. We were called back at the same time, technically. And there was like a team of 3 doctors and nurses trying to retrieve this gem from her nose. Eventually they couldn't, and they lost it completely. By the way, we think maybe it shot up and back and she swallowed it.
Like, is it in her brain?
No, it would gone down like her windpipe and like her throat, and then she swallowed it.
Oh,
that's what they
not
suspect.
Her windpipe.
Not her well, like her throat, her esophagus, whatever connects there. Swallowing. Is there more than one pipe? Are there really 2 pipes? There's just one.
Yeah,
there are 2 pipes. One closes. When you swallow food, one closes. Let the food. There's a lot of double pipe situations.
I have to tell you, it's a design flaw. It's serious design flaw.
No, I think it's efficient. Would you rather have 2 necks?
Well, why couldn't you just have 2 pipes side by side?
Because then you could get food in the windpipe. Now one automatically closes.
I do say that I think that like that.
Welcome to biology with the Cormans.
Right.
Wow, I really
think that area of the body is just very. It hasn't been improved in a lot of time. It needs an update.
Yeah, it
like,
needs
in terms of evolution.
It needs a hardware update. It's not.
It's like I feel like that
hardware
situation,
like a design,
ears, nose, and throat. Just wire
like the guy with the chegs in jury duty. Is that what he calls them? The chair legs.
Yeah, exactly. So the point is, we've had 2 nurses, a doctor. They've tried multiple different methods. They don't get it out. It disappears completely. And we're sitting there, and I, with the doctors and nurses, and I go, Sunny, did you learn an important lesson today? And she goes, yes, Mommy. I go, well, what did you learn? And she goes, that Mommy never taught me not to put something up my nose.
The best.
That's the best. Oh my God, that you're blamed.
So in case we're wondering, it is my fault. I've been so focused on teaching her for the last 4 years not to put stuff in her mouth that isn't food. I forgot to mention you also don't put things up your nose.
Yeah.
And while we're at it, I started to teach her don't put things in your ears. So I'm getting ahead of it for the next one.
That's smart.
Or your butt. Really. You might as well do the butt.
All the holes.
All the holes.
All right.
So it's gone forever now. The gem.
Speaking of holes.
Oh wait. There's an epilogue to the story. I'm keeping the whole family updated on the chat, and then it disappears, right? The gem disappears. And I have instructions from the doctor and the specialist of what to do, like how we're going to, how we're going to monitor for it and the follow-up checkup we're going to do and what to worry about and what not to worry about. So I have like my very specific instructions. The one thing those instructions don't include is the one instruction Mom blasts out to the whole family and then insists on following up with me for the next 2 days, which is that I should be checking her poop to see if the gem is in there. And Mom was hysterical when she pooped and we didn't sift through it for the plastic gem.
I would have solved a lot of answers.
So anyhow.
Okay. Well, moving on. To
other disgusting things?
Well, okay. Yeah. So Poor Things starring the incredible Emma Stone, who is undeniably incredible.
Well, you wouldn't know that, would you?
In this movie.
You only know half of everything you're about to say.
That is true. Because
you're a huge baby.
He accepts that.
Because I will admit that and I have never seen a movie by Yorgos Lanthimos.
You never saw The
Yet.
Lobster? I thought you saw The Lobster.
No, because someone told me that they really hated it. I think
I'm still in litigation with my husband over it.
this
Because
is
he's suing me
clear.
for the 2 hours of his life back.
This is
I made him watch that
clearly,
movie.
and I admire this
liked it.
about this director, meaning like this is clearly the director's move. Make things that are divisive to the audience.
For sure, for sure. And the whole time I was watching it, I was like, wow, some people just make whatever the fuck they want to make. Wow.
And for
it is
that,
not easy.
I'm
It is not
100%.
easy.
And for that, I'm 100% behind this movie. So
Not
I
easy.
give this movie a buy because this movie is clearly someone making their artistic vision and good
Well, it's
on
based
them.
on a book. So it's
Okay,
like
but
realizing
they made the
right.
movie they wanted to make.
They did.
And,
I think
and it's
I
got
think he
Willem
did.
Dafoe, who is freaking amazing in this
He's
movie.
amazing. I have to. Is he nominated? He's so good.
I don't know. Rami
Just read this
Youssef is
movie.
great.
Yeah, Rami Youssef is very, very good in the movie.
So it's a really, you know, it's like very stylized. Like I literally had no idea what this movie was about. I thought this movie was going to
It's
be
like a
like,
Frankenstein story.
yeah, I did not know it was that. I thought it was
I don't know
going to
what
be.
you thought it was about.
I don't know, I thought it was just going to be like an adventure.
Ooh, no. It's definitely like a take
mean-
on Frankenstein.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so, and it definitely is. Like there's some stuff, but I didn't know that. So and it's very steampunk. The production design is wild in this movie.
Did you get to the color part of the movie?
Yeah, I made it to the color part.
Okay, because that it gets you like explodes
No, I can tell
even
you
more.
I can tell you when at a certain point. Well, look, at a certain point, my wife and I looked at each other and we were like, "What the hell is this?" And I read the Wikipedia page to find out the rest of the plot, and we were like, "All right, we're going home."
I do think you would have liked it a lot more.
But
if you
for
stuck it
that,
out.
I
think the
recommend
second-
people watch this movie. I think
the
everyone
second
should watch
half
this
is
movie.
better than the first half.
I don't
It's
think
about
I'm
20
going to.
minutes too
So
long.
so
but it's
Lily,
great.
you liked it a lot, right? Which I
did.
thought you would. I was like,
I
oh, this is
did.
But
I like his
a
movies.
smorgasbord of cultural studies for Lily.
It is. There's a lot to unpack. I think it's disturbing. I think there's something inherently disturbing about her character that makes people feel very uncomfortable. I also understand that you, as being a father of a young daughter, I can't put myself in your shoes, but the way your like point of your life right now, Shai, if I was watching this movie, I might feel very uncomfortable and might not enjoy it, the whole idea of it, because there's a very fine line on this movie on I think innocence and sexuality and sex and
But
people's
isn't it
bodies.
but
Hold on
like,
a
how do
second.
you rationalize the whole
It's
part where they're
mul-
like having sex with a grown woman who's technically a baby?
Well, because she evolves, so she's not
But
the
does
baby
the
she
brain,
was at the beginning. Yes,
But
her
they
brain.
argue
the
in
brain
the movie-
evolves
discovers-
very quickly into
But
an
It does.
adult?
I mean, her. Yeah, they make her. I mean, first of all, you don't know how long she's been with him, right? But she does evolve at a faster rate than like an actual baby. It doesn't take her.
They do
15
tell you
years
those
to
rules, but then
become-
they also sort of argue that all of the sex she's having is helping her evolve. So there's like a
don't
bit
know
of a
if I-
weird like
Well, I don't know
how
if I got
a
that.
baby's sexual
argument.
awakening will make it grow
Well,
up.
I don't think it's a. I wouldn't say it's a baby because she, at one point in the movie, she is like a baby, but she evolves and then she discovers her own sexuality on her own. So no one puts that on her. She comes to that on her own discovery when she's discovering her body. So you would imagine that, yes, she might be too young for like marriage, but she's clearly comfortable in her body and wants to explore that part of her body. And by the time she makes the decision to do so with other people, not just herself, she's old enough to leave her house. So we assume it's like something closer to 18, 16, 18 of the mind of this person. But she has brain damage. So it's like, it's not you can't just, she has a disability as well. And I think that is a really interesting thread through the movie of disabled, the differently abled community and sex and sexuality and how the able community sees that. I think that there's like a very important thread through the movie of feeling uncomfortable about the sexuality that doesn't look like it does for us on a typical romance or a movie that we identify as being safe sexuality. Like, oh, that's what it should look like, pretty. And I think that there's a whole layer to the film about that. I'm very curious how.
But I would contrast it with Rachel
Yeah.
Israel. Keep the Change shows the differently abled community
Sure,
in a romantic and somewhat in different times, like and I think a much more sensitive and
but you didn't finish the movie though, and I think the rest of the movie it gets like, I don't want to ruin it, but it gets, that topic takes you through the rest of the movie.
Okay.
The topic of her and her sexual journey there's a lot of sex in that movie. It's very explicit, and it continues throughout till the very end of the film. It's an important part of the story, and her independence and her choice about her body, and how she becomes independent, like, from the men in her life who control her. It's really
that part.
There's a lot.
So that component though was very interesting.
I mean, offline, I feel like I need to tell you the rest of the movie so you know what happens.
Well, here's the thing. The thing that I thought was really powerful about the movie is that each man, under the guise of helping her, protecting her, guiding her,
exactly,
there was always a catch of them trying to control her. Whether it was the nice guy who wanted to marry her, or the father who made him treat her as God, or Ruffalo's character, who's, but then all of them also kind of fall for her in their own weird way. They don't all do what's best for her, but like the father makes a sacrifice so she can go out and explore the world, right? And I thought
there's
that was
a lot of layers. There's also, I think, a very interesting layer of the trauma that we get from our parents.
Not our specific parent.
No, but everybody.
People
get that you can't escape the trauma you get from your parent, and that you automatically pass on, and how it organically changes after each generation, like how it evolves that trauma. But you can't escape it. And there's a lot woven in there too, I think, about, the idea of parent, child, creator. I mean, obviously, God is the scientist, and his name is Godwin.
It is interesting his name is Godwin, but she calls him God.
She calls him God. It's obviously on purpose.
But he's also kind of okay with that, which is awesome.
Yeah, and then the abuse that he suffered, that he's open about, in the name of science. And
that is such a weird part that he manufacturally talks about.
And he continues talking about it through the whole movie, and the examples he gives gets more and more absurd and worse and worse. And all the other characters are like, "Oh my God, are you serious? That's not okay." And they break what I really thought was interesting about the movie, and I don't know if this is in the book, is that they're in this like very fantastical, theatrical way of talking, and it's like a bit ridiculous. And then all of a sudden, a character will just be like, "Oh my God, are you serious?" Like, break from that world to be like, fuck no. And it's very funny. The movie is very, very funny. I have to say, I don't.
There were people in the theater
Ruffalo
cackling.
I don't love Ruffalo. I think he's talented, but there's something about his like political persona that drives me a bit nuts. Freedom of speech. He can say whatever he wants, but I find him a bit annoying. I thought he was so good in this movie that, I forgot that I was watching Ruffalo. I just was blown away he did such a great job. And it's a really interesting part. And people in the theater, now I saw it in English with Spanish subtitles, and I don't know the mix of people in the theater. Maybe some were native English speakers, most probably were Spanish. People were like bowling over laughing. People thought the movie was very funny. And it's not exactly a comedy, but it has the absurdity, that his work is very absurd.
The people were cackling in the theater, and Allie and I were just like,
it does get funnier and funnier though.
It gets funnier, you know what? But it gets funnier when she has more agency. Like, it was really,
and her language changes. Like,
it was
at one
really
point
hard.
says, "You were better when you didn't have such good, like, I liked you were more adorable when you didn't have such good language,"
which is both a great allegory or metaphor for patriarchy, but also like in the literal sense of what you're watching, so creepy that
it is. I thought it was a little bit long, but no movie cannot be long these days
because she had less language when she was a baby. when she was more of a
Yeah.
baby, and so
Yeah,
it's
he
creepy
has
because
a
he's
lot
like,
of
I
sex with
liked,
her when
he's
she
like, I liked
when
having
she's
sex
a
with you when
baby.
you were a baby. Like, that's
No,
so
it's
weird.
just that she's cuter, like not cuter, but she's kind of, it's as if she's speaking a foreign language. She knows what she wants to say. She just talks as if she's learning English for the first time. But she has like very complicated. There's one scene where he goes, "You don't know what a banana is, yet you can say empirical." Like, what the fuck? Because she has this sort of like scientific learned life because she lived with a surgeon and a doctor and all that, but yet she hasn't been exposed to the world outside. So
Anyways,
it makes you think a lot.
I think
and
people should watch this movie. I think what's funny is I was comparing it to my experience with Salt. I was expecting some uplifting story about like, Nell
the end,
from Nell.
No, not in one of
No.
his movies.
Not one of his movies, but I have to say
Pretty
it's
bad.
more uplifting. The ending is way more uplifting than I expected, because I expected like everybody to die or turn into goats or something.
And so like I think people should watch this movie. It's wild.
Although one person does turn into a goat.
But this year is the gaggiest year of movies I think I've had. Between
There's
this
some
and
yucky
Saltburn,
stuff.
like
Yeah.
I gagged in this movie so much that maybe it's
wouldn't
Saltburn's
say
fault.
it's-
Maybe if I hadn't seen Saltburn, like, or if I had
You
known
were
going
already
into
on
this.
on the edge with like what was gross. I think you had to kind of watch one. Do I think
mean,
it's the best movie?
Becky,
No,
they take
I
a
don't.
baby's brain out of a
No,
pregnant
don't
lady.
don't
Oh,
ruin the
sorry.
movie. Don't
Okay.
ruin. That's ruining.
No,
the movie.
he called me from the theater being like,
but
I have to leave
don't
this and I'm going to tell you
ruin that
everything
for
about
every-
it.
Don't ruin that. For
And I'm
other
like,
people,
based on your description, I don't want to watch this movie.
That one scene,
But
I
enough
was
people that
gagging.
I trust have said that they liked it and I should see it. And I technically, that's
it's not
what
for
the
everyone. I think
Patreon asked for. Is it a Patreon, a Substack? What do we have?
Substack.
That's what the Substack asked for. Who can keep track
Yeah.
these days? Wait.
Defoe is
Okay. Well, thank you for that. I will weigh
Lily,
my decision carefully.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not giving it like a formal rating, but I think people should see it. Lily, you buy it. Is that correct?
I think in the sense that I guess. Sure. I don't need to see it again. So I don't like, if we're going by that rating system, I saw it once. It was cool. I think I'd like to talk about it with other people who have seen it. So
I am aggravated though to talk about snubs, and again, I am aggravated, however great an achievement this is, that Greta Gerwig was not nominated.
Didn't we talk about this last time?
But versus this specific movie, which tackles feminism and the patriarchy,
this is another
and
thing.
all
the
of
book
those
that this
things.
is based on is written by a man. The script was written by a man. It's directed by a man. Almost the entire cast is men. It is a story about a woman's journey to independence and sexual freedom through the viewpoint of men. And it's very infuriating that this guy, Lathimos? What's his name?
Yorgos
Lathimos is nominated and not Greta. And I think what he did was brilliant too. Like, I'm not taking away from, the world that he created in this movie is quite exceptional, but it makes it feel a little bit even more bullshit. Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, people. Anyways, Barbie, still my favorite movie of the year. Still what I think should be Best Picture. I'm standing by it as I continue to watch these movies. Quickly, let's do some recommendations.
While I didn't go out with Shai to the movie see this, I stayed in and I watched a really fun documentary on Max. I watched the Tony Hawk documentary, Tony Hawk Until the Wheels Come Off. And it was so good. Yeah, it was so good. It was so much fun. I really recommend it.
Does it talk about his appearance in Gleaming the Cube?
I don't think so. What's Gleaming the Cube? No, I don't think so.
About that movie.
Christian Slater about skateboarders.
Oh no, it doesn't talk about that specifically, but it
I'm sure Jose acted that
follows his whole career. And it's such a cool story because first of all, growing up in the 90s, like, that's to me, right? Obviously, when he was famous, why he was famous, he's so iconic, but he'd been skateboarding since like the 70s and had like a whole career for 20 years before, or like 15 plus years before we knew him in like the late 90s and blowing up, becoming famous. It was, first of all, really cool to get the whole backstory there. And, these people who are top athletes in the world, right? These people who have not just talent, but their mind and their bodies are able to go to such extremes in terms of their training and focus and what they
Olympians.
achieve. They're not wired like the rest of us. They're not wired like the rest of their peers in their sports. And this like deep dive into what he did and how he did it and his whole backstory and all the and still doing it and the people around him, it was just so well made. The movie it has such incredible archive footage. It has such the interviews are fantastic. His story is so interesting. And I just thought it was just excellent. It was like well made, really interesting. He's a super fascinating guy when you like really hear his whole story, how he started off as like a runt, like a true like teeny tiny runt who he wasn't physically strong enough to do the tricks in competitions that people had to do to win points and win competitions. So he literally had to create new tricks that didn't exist based on what he could physically do. And then that's what like started to transform the entire, skateboarding culture rules. And it's so fascinating, especially being that this is
sounds awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. And then if you watched if you watched Lords of Dogtown or Dogtown and Z-Boys, which is like the same story, but one's a doc and one's a narrative film where it tells you like the story of Stacy Peralta and like that original crew of skateboarders, all those guys are in and appear in this documentary as well, or not all of them, but like some of them, because there's this crossover between their generation and Tony Hawk's rise. And so it's really cool. Yeah.
That sounds awesome. Lily?
Yeah, I give it a buy and I really recommend it. Yeah. A lot of fun.
Cool. I saw Dream Scenario, which I highly recommend for Vlad. Becky, I feel like Vlad.
That's definitely on our list. That was good.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I think the total snub. I think Nick Cage should have been nominated 100% because he was just amazing. Nick Cage as always, but thought that was an excellent role. The movie is definitely, it has its own, I guess, like thesis that leaves the ending maybe up to interpretation, but it's a great sort of careful what you wish for type story. But I thought it was really cool. I enjoyed it. I would rent it and then recommend you to watch it.
Cool.
Very cool. Well, I saw Self-Reliance a little while ago, which we have to talk about on the show because I loved it. That was so cool. Jake Johnson directed movie. So just put a pin in that and come back to it. And then I started watching last night with Allie at the recommendation of Michael Hirschfield. So Michael, who does not listen to this show, but I'm giving him a shout out. I had not heard of this Netflix documentary called The Greatest Night of Pop or The Greatest Night in Pop on Netflix, which is about Lionel Richie. Yeah. You saw the movie?
No, I saw that. I saw the ad for it.
It's about Lionel Richie, Quincy Jones, Michael Jackson making We Are the World. And it's tons of behind the scenes footage and audio recordings and conversations. It's really engrossing. And, what they went through to organize that in the pre-internet days, it's kind of mind-blowing what they did. Mm-hmm. And there's some suspense in it too. Anyways, it's terrific. We have like a half hour left in it, but I strongly recommend this. This is a great music doc. This is one of the better ones I've seen in a long time. And with that, sign up for our Substack. Becky and Lily, love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye. Love you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Friday Night Movie, the sibling rivalry and pop culture podcast. Join the Friday Night Movie family by following @FryNightMovie on all of the socials and visiting our website, FryNightMovie.com. Our theme song is by What Does It Eat? And make sure to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.